There we are. If you've been energy training for quite some time, then you have most likely come across purgatory energy. It looks very much like a large mass of black with a whole lot of ghost heads in it and an awful lot of skeletons. Right now, at this present time, practically everyone is scared of hell. But back during the medieval ages, and especially the Dark Ages, people weren't scared of hell. They were scared of purgatory, and for good reason. Purgatory, well, I couldn't exactly say where it is. It is a very large energetic dimension that is on Earth. It is incredibly freezing, and the entire thing is full of skeletons, skeletal abominations, souls of the damned, anyone who was cursed and dragged there, anyone who had purgatory cords on them, anyone who was doing black magic, signed any contracts, or was using purgatory energy in rituals. A lot of their souls tend to end up in purgatory. That also happens if anyone's in modern day sells their soul, and the main buyer is purgatory entities. There's also a lot of necromancers and other dark magician entities, not people, but negative entities in there. So this video will go through and clear purgatory energy. If you have not been energy clearing, purgatory is most likely not on your mind. But once you start energy clearing, purgatory energy is absolutely everywhere. I have spent in the past weeks clearing purgatory bone implants, basically just long, mostly hollow bones that were just what seemed like kilometers long, all wrapped up around each other, just making balls and causing overall energetic problems. So that is why I'm doing purgatory clearing. While it's not something that people are likely at this point in time to look up, it is something that very much needs a healing video for. I've pretty much always, up until now, been around purgatory energy. In Australia, there is a humongous amount of purgatory energy. If you're seeing any kind of ghosts or skeletal entities, they're usually tied into purgatory energy. If anyone has any questions about purgatory energy, answer it, because I've talked about most of what I was going to talk about with purgatory energy. It's pretty self-explanatory. Purgatory entities, the skeletal entities, and the old purgatory-esque ghost entities tend to be patient and cunning. They will want to not be perceived and just feed off you energetically through time. But then there is various variations in programming, particularly with skeletal abominations. So a skeletal abomination will normally be something that's got normally one skull. It's not that common for them to have multiple skulls, but it'd be one skull and then a rib cage with like 400 ribs and then a tail. All skeletal purgatory entities usually don't have flesh. Just tends to be their makeup and design. Another I'd say fairly common purgatory entity race are bone skeletons and bone serpents. Essentially, it'll be a skull. It can be a human skull, usually a human skull, but it can be a snake, dog, you name it. But usually there will be a human skull and then a bit of bone coming out with like 6 or 8 ribs. And these things, unlike other purgatory entities, which will be more passive, they won't. They will just expand all their energy and just cause entities and make you have to get rid of them. So if you've got an entity symptom that just doesn't go away, it's just there whenever your energy dips, it's just there immediately. It doesn't feel like it's buying time or building itself up. I had this quite a bit. It'd be very annoying. I would, particularly when I'd work out, my energetic resistance would dip a bit, and I just feel thousands of these things, almost like maggots, moving around. They were very annoying. So these videos will clear these up. Other people have referred to them as overlord entities, but I wouldn't consider them overlords. I consider them pretty bargain basement entities. It's just generic skeletons. Then there are skeletons that like to think of themselves as royalty. You've got skeleton kings. Usually they'll have a bone crown with like a corrupted ruby and a bit of like corrupted gold around the edges. But normally it's made out of bone. I'll just go on to the main abilities. If you're fighting these things, they will tend to manifest themselves into reality for about 3-4 seconds just to scare you. They won't usually have enough energy, or unless they're really furious, they won't have enough energy to see it worthwhile for them to manifest longer than that. They'll often do a skeletal laughing, but if they don't have enough energy, there'll be no sound, and then out of that will come blue skeletons as like basically a fog. Negative entities that have been around for quite a while or that have been created with quite a bit of power usually can manipulate their own energy outside of their bodies as well. So they'll do that usually just as a scare tactic and a light attack. It's not a very strong attack, but it's usually a scare tactic. Purgatory entities, similar to reptilians, when you first start, you'll see them, you'll fight 1,000 skeletons, and they'll be pushovers. And then here I am, years later, and then a skeleton shows up, very old, and takes 30 seconds to clear. So, in general, there's something that you will just keep fighting because they just make up such a large portion of negative entity races that you just get accustomed to them being around. So, it's really all I had to talk about Purgatory there. Purgatory Cords as well. You can tell with the False Life video, I wasn't doing energy work at the time, so it's much easier to think and be a precise speaker when you're not doing 4 different major things energetically, and also trying to remember what you're talking about. I've talked about these before, I believe, as Hell Cords, but Purgatory Cords, essentially a skeleton will come to you and he'll wrap around a chain, usually made out of bone, around your usually left leg, but if you're left-footed, then it would be your right leg, usually around your leg. And then when you die, so they can grab you before you've really got any bearings, you've gone into the reincarnation trap or anything like that, they just yank the cord and off you go to Purgatory, where you're quite terrified. Suddenly everything's incredibly cold. There's what look like humanish figures screaming all around you, lots of skeletons everywhere. So this video will clear any Purgatory Cords. Can Purgatory energy attack you and cause a lot of pain? I mean, that goes for most entity races. So, yes, potentially. I'm just reading the chat if anyone's like, why is it going quiet? Is this type of energy in movies or electronics? It's not in electronics, no. Usually not, unless it's been cursed. It's very rare to be in electronics. Movies, that is a general question, I'd say. In some movies, yes. Good. I'll talk about eyes now. So, overall, our eyes do take physical damage over time, but the main way for targeted people, especially if you're needing glasses when you're like 10, other than potential birth deformity or someone hitting you in the eye with a hammer, is energetic damage. So as I'll speak from personal experience. As my energetic abilities increased and as I grew stronger energetically, my physical eyes, which were always pretty decent, I've never needed glasses, became significantly stronger. I was able to see at more frames per second, and I was able to see detail from a further distance away. I'll reword that. I was able to see clearer details at a further distance than I previously could before. So as you energy train, it does affect your physical eyes. This video will do 2 things with your eyes, or 2 main things. It will energetically clear the interference over your eyes energetically, and it will energetically clear and restore physical damage done to your eyes in time. One thing to keep in mind, especially with purgatory clearing, now that I've started working on clearing the eyes, you can tell I've tried. I had a good break last night, so I was just up training and clearing. Negative entities, if they feel they're losing, or they feel that if they don't stop this now, you're going to have a breakthrough, and then it will just be a great downhill slope for you and a bad uphill slope for them, they will energetically change their tactics. So if you're working, particularly, let's say you've got really bad entity targeting on like your left shoulder, and you clear through your left shoulder for months, and then it gets better and better and better, and then it like fragments, and now you've got the pain, which is at a much smaller amount, and the stiffness a much smaller amount, but it's now spread into 8 different parts of your body. That is them changing tactics. It's not something to worry about. It is annoying because you feel, oh yes, I just have to keep going, through your shoulder. If they do that, don't ignore the various different parts. Just try and focus on all of them the same way you were on your shoulder, because it's the same overall mass of negative energy. It's just been divvied up. So with eye clearing, and I've had this with a few clients where I've worked on them and they've started getting blurry vision. So their emotional state and their mental state, they became much happier, but their eyes became more blurry. This doesn't usually happen to someone who already has great eyesight or even mediocre eyesight, but it does happen to someone who already has a weakness there, is already needing glasses. I've had one client who comes to mind where she improved dramatically, energetically, and mentally, but her eyesight became so bad she was wearing 3 pairs of glasses. It was pretty extreme. But I did go through that, and she'd go back down to at least 1 pair of glasses. Right now, she's probably needing 80% of the first pair. A main reason they do target the eyes, other than the overall physical problems it causes, because it can, with glasses, it can be fairly easily fixed, at least temporarily, is that ties massively into your energetic vision. And one of the main major tactics that negative entities want is to make sure that you can't see them, because if you can't see them, if you're not aware of them, they can do significantly more. So that being said, this video will increase your remote viewing. I'm not going to call it remote viewing anymore, because remote viewing, the term, as far as I'm aware, is a military term. People would essentially focus their consciousness and their attention on a physical location, not looking for entities or energies, but just wanting to essentially be a spy, look at various locations in real time without needing any kind of physical way to view it. That's what remote viewing is. And while what I'm doing is somewhat like that, it's really not. So at first I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to call it remote viewing. I'm going to call it energetic vision. And then I thought, no, I'll call it primordial vision. And I'll explain why. Dimension 60, I'm calling the primordial dimension. That's your primordial energy. That is the main energy that your soul generates. Okay, we're now calling it primordial energy. So your eyes in your energy body, okay, right here, they're not there, they're not in the center of your chest, they're not anywhere else. Okay, you have 2 eyes here. This video will go through, and it will go through what I call energetic pathways. It will go through down your eyes. You've got about 20 of them, with 2 being major, right down to the center of your chest, into your soul area, and from there it will gradually clear, expand, and restore and strengthen your energetic pathways, leading to clearer and easier primordial viewing. Now, just remote viewing, I have done it in the past because I was curious. I remember when I was still in Australia, I went, oh yeah, I'll try this. What I would do is I would look up an image on Google Images, and then I just try and look at that at the present time, and it worked in building up overall remote viewing ability. The problem was that I could also see demons everywhere and other negative entities, and I went, okay, well, none of the videos have mentioned the demonic aspect of this. They've just mentioned, yeah, yes, I see you, and you're 2 blocks away, and you're wearing a red shirt. They weren't mentioning that, so I thought, okay, well, they either had to have somehow tuned this out, which is unlikely, or they just weren't aware to check for demons. I'd say they have opened up, or potentially the negative entities even led them in that direction. They opened up a way to energetically view without viewing more than the third dimension, without even really sensing more than the third dimension, more than they already were used to. And most people aren't used to that at all. So I do that and get it fairly well. I've been into a few neighbors' house just to get the layout of overall what's going on. You may say that's invasion of privacy. It is somewhat, but one neighbor in particular, and I believe I've mentioned this before, used to take like 8-9 hour showers because he was possessed and getting targeted a lot, and he didn't own curtains whatsoever. So if he his shower window faced my bedroom, so I've already seen all there is to see. So I remember I moved into his house, saw this giant evil purgatory cluster of a large girl's head, and I went, all right, his house is almost just as bad as mine. Had a look around there. I could see the overall layout of the house fairly well. Now I'd be like, oh, geez, nope, your house is just evil. I really need to clear it because I've not built up the remote viewing, I'd say, strength and pathways to do it without seeing the energetic aspect, because that really doesn't help me. I'm not trying to be a spy. I'm trying to erase negative entities and negative energies. And then I looked in a few other neighbors' houses. I could get the overall out. So remote viewing is very real, even if you get things slightly odd, like they may have a sock out of a drawer that you just don't see that. But overall, you can train that to get fairly well. But this is not for remote viewing. This is for primordial vision. One thing to keep in mind, as you may go, oh no, wait, I don't want this. I don't just want to look around the room and see everything. No, that's not what's going to happen. I'm not going to blow open your third eye like this is a Kundalini awakening or DMT experience. What this is you will essentially have a new muscle cleared and developed, which you can tap into. So if you set the intention and focus to see energetically what's going on around you, then you'll see it. Now, keep in mind, you are not going to be able to perceive, particularly anything inside of you, that you would not realistically be able to clear. Outside of you, yes. If you're driving and you go through a tunnel and there's 400 evil demons, yeah, no, don't fight them, okay? They're not there. You didn't see them. You don't know anything about them. But if it's inside of you and you're seeing 400 demons, you have the energetic strength to perceive them. Therefore, you have the energetic strength to clear them. Now, you may say, well, that sounds scary. The important thing to think about with that, and is very important to keep in mind, is these things have been there inside of you for potentially years, potentially decades, depending how old you are, and they've just been feeding off of you, and you simply haven't seen them. You've most likely sensed them a bit. You've felt yourself getting weaker. You've had lower energy levels. You've seen the results of them targeting you, but you've not seen the cause of it. So the most important thing when you first start is to just find one entity and fight it. And as you start winning and defeating them, then you will develop more confidence, and then hundreds, thousands of things as you're just going through, erasing them all, won't seem like a big deal to you. It'll just be fairly normal. So that's what we're doing with Primordial Vision. If anyone has any questions about Primordial Vision, feel free to ask now. I'll just check questions. How do people influenced with purgatory energy behave? Usually, well, there are so many different purgatory entities from purgatory that it's not an easy question to answer. Usually they'll look very old, very haggard. Their hair will usually be very thin. They'll have very low energy in general. But if they're like working with necromancers or they're working with other dark magician type entities, they'll usually come across as looking old and ill, but they'll have like a sense of death around them, and a sense of like evil confidence or more malevolence. But there's so many different purgatory entities that I wouldn't say that any particular physical mannerism or anything about it could be correlated to one particular entity race in there. It'd be difficult to narrow it down without seeing the particular entity. One thing to keep important is yes, while these negative entities have always been there, once you start seeing them, they will react to you. They'll go from just feeding off of you to acting out. So, be prepared if they start acting up. No problem. Go ahead, fight them, win. Some of them may lie to you. Just, I know I do say the same things, especially the same fundamental things, but don't bother listening to them. There's no point in my experience. You can, and you'll find out they're lying to you. Like, if you question them, they usually get agitated and annoyed because you're not listening to their programming or script. They're not exactly very clever when it comes to an actual proper conversation where they're not speaking in riddles. And if anything, speaking riddles, you say, stop, speak properly. I can't. What do you like? I'm not going to take 2 minutes to comprehend what you're saying. There's no deeper meaning to it, usually. So, Hyra's asked a good question. Why is there a manga in the description? Well, that is not a manga, Hyra. How dare you? That is a manhwa, right? It is Korean. And that is a manga I'm recommending called The World After the Fall. Now, it starts off, and it seems fairly generic, which is why it works so well. The premise is big towers appear all over the world, and certain people, mainly through sheer luck, have a window show up in front of them, and it asks them if they want to participate in a video game that is now reality. And they say yes or no. Usually yes, all right? Because if you say no, there's no story. So they say yes. They enter into the video game world. And just like with common manhwa, the video game aspects are real physically, and they build themselves up and they level up, etc., etc. But what separates this one apart from generic manhwa stories and makes it terrific is the main character gets to the top, and at the top, a demon goes, "Congratulations, you've completed the tower. Well done. Now, if you could just sign this soul contract, we'll send you off to the main world, and you will be partnered up under like the god of darkness or someone very evil." I'm paraphrasing here. And he goes, "Wait, what? No, you're a demon. I'm obviously not going to do that." Okay, he's very smart. So he does the sensible thing that any of us would do, which is to attack the demon. Which it goes okay, but the longer this goes on, and the more he questions things and begins to doubt reality, the more he begins to separate himself from the system. And this now draws parallels into our physical world. Yes, you can do a matrix energy grid line, and yes, you will usually end up possessed or usually mentally a bit worse off, but you can build up energetic strength. The difference is that if you do that, there is a pretty low ceiling and you're not going to get very far. If you energetically train and build yourself up with your own energy outside of this matrix system we're in, then you will become significantly stronger. So in this, the main character with, let's say, 80 years of training can easily defeat someone who has spent 2,000 years training within the system, because the system is built to take an incredible, like infuriating amount of time with giving you very little benefit. Another main aspect of why I'm recommending this is, while he doubts reality, the video game overlay on reality disappears for him, and he sees reality for exactly what it is, which is demonic and absolutely dreadful. A way that I see, not where I live now, but quite a lot of places on Earth. Let's say Amsterdam, for example. Amsterdam has Sauron's eye in the sky. Who knows why? I could take a few guesses that would be educated. But he sees the world that he's in exactly for what it is, and not the rainbows and sunshine of the essentially false spotlight overlay that's set up. And that's why I recommend The World After the Fall. I'd say the author, I wouldn't say he's consciously aware of what, I don't think he's consciously aware of the Matrix and everything that I know. That would be very impressive. But I'd say he's also deconstructing the like generic isekai genres, and he's definitely got a positive energetic aspect that is speaking through that. The main character also, at least aspects of him remind me of myself, and especially the incredible stubbornness and not not obviously listening to demons. It's a very good read. I've put a link in the description for anyone who is interested in that. Yes, if you're feeling heartburn, I'm glad you mentioned that. I am clearing up your primordial vision, your energetic pathways to it, you may feel burning, especially if you've got demonic energy or a few other energies, which I'm not going to say and potentially roll them up in you. As they clear, a symptom you'll often get from rapid clearing is a burning sensation. Are migraines that cause flashes in eyes due to an entity attack? I'm not quite sure about flashes in eyes, like that, because I've not experienced that. But migraines can very much be overall energetic targeting, especially if there's a lot of pressure on your head, and it can be energetic blockages being placed in neural pathways, or it can just be an overall entity attack on your overall mental state. So yes, migraines can very much be entity targeting. How are Japanese and Korean comics so aware of this stuff, but not in the West? Well, in the West, the mainstream stuff is superhero comics. As far as I'm aware, I don't read them. And they just. I'm not really sure. I'd say in Japan and Korea, they have much more creative freedom than they do in the West, especially if you. Korea more so than Japan. But usually the artist has more say than the editors, and they're not just doing like chapter 2000 of Spider-Man, because they can't then be like Spider-Man's been in a video game the whole time. Like you can't really pull things off. You have boundaries and restrictions that you have to keep the world in. Otherwise, it's not really Spider-Man anymore. It's just we've taken Spider-Man and put him in another story. So I'd say they just have much more freedom of creativity and significantly less restrictions, along with an overall more expansive view on reality. I mean, a lot of the Western comics are just like pushing political propaganda, pushing whatever propaganda they're told to, or not even told to, but they've been indoctrinated into thinking that everybody believes. That no one has to tell them. It's just been ingrained into them and are part of them. Whereas in Japan and Korea, they seem to actually want to create a story that's interesting and entertaining, and it's not just like someone screaming in your ear that you're a bad person. So that's a major reason to it. There's a lot less propaganda and ideological possession, at least coming forward in their forms of entertainment. Can I activate someone's primordial vision? That's what this is. This is clearing, strengthening. Yes, this will activate your primordial vision. Correct. No, they don't look like the entities from Purgatory do not look like the zombies from Michael Jackson's Thriller video. No, they look like skeletons. There's normally very little flesh on them. Reinhard is purging at the moment. It's there's no T, by the way. Names have energy. Anyway, no T's at the end. Just Reinhard, but he's purging at the moment. You wouldn't want to see his energy. He's old, so he's just got a lot of past life stuff to come up and for me to clear from him. But then he does work on it himself as well. Once your primordial vision improves, can you see auras, and is the soul color the same as... No, soul color is not the same as aura color. Aura shows usually the emotional state someone's in. I don't really care about auras that much. They're decent. I can see them, but they're not the best way of seeing what's going on with someone emotionally and energetically. But yes, once you've developed your primordial vision, you will just say, show me this person's aura. Now, you'll see this in your mind, not with your physical eyes, okay? But yes, if you focus on it, then you'll see it. If one loses their sight, well, you don't lose your sight. If you had sight and it got blocked up, then you've just got to unblock it. And some people did have it, as children. If you've not had it, then it's a matter of clearing it and then developing it. You've been seeing entities a bit and could somewhat hear them. Will this clear that? Probably not, because there are so many different ways that could be happening. Overall, you'd want to make a conscious decision that you don't want to hear them, because that's annoying. And even when you do hear them, just ignore them. Will this cause headaches while clearing? It depends how much purgatory energy you've got, really. I'll talk now a bit about religious programming. Now, the way I view what I'm doing is I'm essentially teaching self-defense, or in some cases offense, but I'm teaching you how to defend yourself energetically. I'm not peddling any kind of false god. There's no prophecies here. This is as simple as someone going and learning Muay Thai or Jiu-Jitsu or Krav Maga. It is, a way for you to defend yourself. So the only way I could see someone having, and I understand religious programming, because negative entities will put in your head that you can't do this. This is blasphemous. It's against God, and they're only saying that because if they can get you to properly believe that no, you can't learn this, then you will never develop the ability to perceive them and then erase them. The main thing, mainstream religion, at least mainstream Christianity, as far as I'm aware, does tend to teach is you need to look outward. So when demons are kicking the shit out of you, you don't get up and start strangling them. You call for God, and if you're like me, no one answers. You're just kind of stuck. You're getting beat up, or you fight back eventually. So even if someone was really religious, I don't see how they could view any problem with learning how to sense and move your own energy in your body and then learning how to shield, other than the negative entities pressing their buttons and using their religious programming against them. Right? This is not witchcraft. There's no wands here. We don't have a lamb tied up in the backyard, or chickens, or any other sacrificial things. No, that's what the bad guys do. That's what the entities do. All right. This is as simple as building up your own energy. But I do understand, because religious programming runs deep, and they just try to make you feel as guilty as much as possible. At least the Catholic entities and energy I had, essentially, and I've probably mentioned this before, but when you pray, right? So let's say you're like, oh no, my grandma's got cancer, right? Something serious. You don't go, all right, let me energetically figure out what the cancer is and work on it. No, you go, God, please help my grandma. And usually that energy goes out, and you have essentially written to the North Pole, please fix grandma. Right? That's what you have done energetically. And that energy goes out, and then a reptilian, who is, if the church is consecrated properly, even then, reptilians get enough energy to offset that, but most churches are not consecrated to a point where that actually works. So these reptilians just stand there, and there goes your mail to the North Pole, and it's been eaten by reptilians. That's usually what happens there. But no, I remember I used to get religious programming thoughts. I used to watch the show Supernatural, and in it, the angels were the bad guys. Well, they'd start off as the good guys, and then it's, no, hang on, you're evil. No, you're good. No, you're evil. Right? It was dramatic. That's how stories tend to work. But I remember getting, oh, you shouldn't watch this. It's blasphemous. The sex scenes were okay. The violence was okay. Them killing demons was okay. But when they were saying, oh, no, the angels don't have your best interest, that's when my religious programming that had been beat into me by being dragged to, and energetically beat into me by being dragged to church since I was 4, which is probably a story for another time. But yeah, that would very much kick in there, because they didn't like something questioning the integrity of angels. So if you're getting religious programming like, no, I can't learn this, I'll go to hell. No. Even if you do go to hell, which you would not from doing what I'm teaching, you would have the capabilities and the capacity to defend yourself and to get yourself out of hell. If you've not built yourself up and you just like, God, get me out of hell, yeah, angels will come get you out of hell. They might take a week or 2, but they will eventually come get you. And then you'll do a life review, and then you'll come back, and then you'll be here 80,000 years from now, if humanity loses this go round. So that's just with religious programming, really any kind of programming, you need to kind of take a step back in your own mind and go, all right, who's talking right now? Like, is this my thought? Are these emotions mine? Why do I feel this way? Etc. One thing to keep in mind is religious objects, you'd think, well, they can't really become cursed, right? There'd be at least faith energy on them. No, they can become cursed. I mean, crystals are inherently positive, but they essentially, let's say you've got a crystal and its strength is 40, and then a dragon who's evil, who has the energetic strength of 200 comes and just vomits dragon energy all over your crystal. Your crystal does not have enough energetic strength to defeat this dragon. Therefore, your crystal is now cursed, corrupted, and there's a lot of dragon entities living inside that he's vomited out, living inside of your crystal, right? Now, religious items, they inherently are not as inherently positive and have a stronger connection, in my experience, as crystals. It depends on where they're mined. It depends on quite a lot of factors. But I remember a few years ago, can't remember the year. A few years ago, my parents' house was being painted, and they were painting my bedroom, and I needed to take everything around the bedroom and put it in the center of the room, and I needed to take everything off the wall. And I had a Jesus hanging on the wall. He was on the cross. He was crucified. It was a wooden cross, I believe. And I went to take it down. I went, oh, geez, this is cursed. Why is Jesus cursed? What is what is going on here? So, I mean, I'd been energy training, but yeah, my house was very haunted. So but I didn't expect Jesus to be cursed. Yeah, my chest of drawers fine, but Jesus, come on. So I said to my mum, Jesus is cursed. what do I do? And she said, oh, if you don't want it, just throw it out. And I said, Mum, you can't throw out Jesus. It's got to be really bad luck. That's a terrible idea. What if Jesus gets mad? Now, the story of Jesus, if you're watching this, you're probably at least aware of it. He's supposed to be very benevolent and very kind, but all forgiving. But I just felt, no, if I take this thing and put it in the bin, this cross of Jesus, which has been corrupted by every negative energy in the house, various negative entity races, is going to be vindictive and try and get me. So I did not throw Jesus in the bin. What I did is I did the very sensible thing. Outside of my bedroom door, there was a decently large landing, and then there was my brother's bedroom on the other side, and outside of his room was a shelf. So I took Jesus and I put him outside my brother's room on the shelf where he wouldn't be able to affect me. I think there was already so much cursed stuff around my brother. Man, I remember he was away for a camp for a weekend, and I was going to my room, and I looked in his room, and I could see someone sleeping in his bed, and I thought, oh, he's in there. And then I walked into my bedroom, and I went, no, he's not here. So he already had enough energetic targeting. Adding one cursed Jesus wasn't going to do anything. But for me, I could sense it. My room was decently clean. I didn't need a cursed Jesus on the wall. So yes, religious artifacts and objects can become cursed. That's not to say they're inherently evil. I would not say something as brazen as that, but they can certainly be used against you and have demons living inside of them. No, don't use mantras. You can make affirmations, but keep them in English. Is Santa also an entity? I haven't looked into it. I've talked about the Akashic records 3 times before, so go find those videos. Yeah, it's in a few of the live streams. In regards to Santa, I'm having my own Santa experience. If you've seen the movie Santa Claus with Tim Allen, then there is a part where he wakes up and he's got this giant grey Santa beard. And, of course, not very professional to have a giant grey Santa beard. So he shaves it. And then immediately it appears again. And, through magic. My overall, as I've increased my energy. My overall body has become more durable. That is by design, but my facial hair has become more durable, which makes it much more difficult to shave. Now, this is something that I'll get to. It's not a priority for me at the moment, but I will have to figure out a way to fix this, because I can shave the same spot 10 times and it's just not coming off. So if you ever see me and I'm like patchy, it's not that I'm not shaving or that I don't know how to shave. It's that I can shave the same spot and it's too durable for the razor that I'm shaving. It's just not coming off. So yes, I do know how to shave. But there's only so much you can do. Even if I would have shaved the same spot 100 times, some days it's just not going to come off. So I understand the pain you were going through, Tim Allen, in Santa Claus. It is very annoying, but at least it's not that bad. It's not a Santa beard. Does anyone have any other questions about religious programming or anything else I've talked about so far? Because that is everything I had to talk about. Yeah, in regards to Jesus, I've seen, as I've been clearing, practically Reptilians, Grace, anything can use whatever they want, really, in my experience, as a false overlay. So they just overlay themselves to look like Jesus, and then I attack what looks like Jesus, and nope, it is a reptilian. That's pretty common. So just because something's taking the form of someone you trust, that doesn't really mean much at all. Just energetically attack everything, and don't take things at face value. No, I'm not really wanting to grow a beard. Maybe I will. I might have to if I can't get it off. Can listening to healing mantras on the internet bring in a curse? Yes, majorly. Very much so. Yeah. I wouldn't say curse. It'd bring in mantra portals, and it'd bring in negative musical frequencies, and it'll bring in potentially negative energy from the creator of it, depending on who made it. When your vision improves, well, let's say when your primordial vision improves, Jeff, can you see your soul color in your mind? Yes, but more so what you do is you would increase your primordial vision strength, and then you would be able to view your soul area and see your soul, and then you would be able to see your soul color. In general, if you're praying to anyone, Shelley, yes, you are sending a letter to the North Pole, because I've never seen someone's prayer energy get to who it's meant to, and I've been around churches, and I've seen people pray and it goes right into the pastor. I don't usually go to church, but I was curious about what was going on there energetically, and I went to one that was a small church, but the people there were really devout, and very devout. The music they sung, I've heard their songs once, and I can still hear them in my head if I think about it, because they had so much devout energy, like they truly believed in what they were singing out there. But I do remember them praying, and a lot of the energy going into the priest who was talking, and I could see at this point his physical aura. I was just seeing just clear, and this was probably a year or 3 months in training, just taken up nearly the whole wall. So if you're doing it to a person who's across the room, yes, that will get to him. But if you're trying to get to a religious figure, no, not normally. Can prayers from other people harm us? No, it's not going to get to you. Especially unless it's like evil prayers, like an evil ritual that can get you. Yes, but usually if they're praying to you, no, it's just getting sucked up by the nearest negative entity. CKS, can sharing a bed with someone merge their entities to you when you sleep? Sharing a bed, it will, if you're having physical contact with them, yes. Not so much the aspect of sharing a bed, but more so physical contact, yes. Any other questions about any topic? I'll go for another few minutes unless there's something else to address. Oh, one thing with purgatory energy, depending how energy sensitive you are, yes, they do generate a lot of negative thoughts and a lot of basically they emit a negative frequency that they then transform into a thought that would make at least somewhat sense to you. But as they're getting erased, and especially if you focus in on that frequency, you go from hearing the thoughts that you were having to just like screaming. It's like a dull echo background scream. But that can happen. Just ignore it. The screaming will lessen as the skeletons who are screaming in your ears erase. I'm not going to talk about clearing music at the moment, because there's quite a few aspects to that. I've talked about Karma before. Karma is a program. Otherwise, there'd be a lot of people already struck by lightning. It's a program. If you believe in it and not into it, the negative aspect can happen to you, yes. But the positive aspect, unless they're trying to build up trust with you for a later trip usually, then no. So in general, if you believe in karma, it can affect you and only you. You can't believe in it for someone else, and it usually only affects you in the long term in a negative way. How far does energy clearing reach? It depends on the area. If you're in an area like where I lived, 300 meters around you. If you're in an area that's not insanely cursed, 2 kilometers. If you're in a nice clear area, 7-8 kilometers, potentially more. The more players, the wider it can go out. If you need it focused on a particular area, you can give it the intention to focus hard on an area, but then you'll usually feel a lot of pressure as it's clearing a lot. That's just your body reacting to the increase in energy and the energy being more focused. But yes, it will definitely reach your daughter in a couple of rooms away, Tonya. Are Catholics more likely to get purgatory energy? I'd say no, because they're taught to believe in it. No, because purgatory energy is so widespread everywhere. I mean, I didn't really believe in purgatory energy, and it was everywhere around my vicinity back in Australia. So no, just because you're aware of an energy does not make you any more likely to be targeted from it, unless you are living in fear of it and you're scared it's going to come and get you. Then yes, it will target you. I've already explained how healing videos work. All right, Evelyn, and I've explained it to you personally. Come on. Personally, is in another live chat. I've answered the exact same question. Yeah, overall, with energetic strength, being single is certainly much easier, Kimberly. It's, you'd have to invest quite a bit of time into someone else and get them energy training and then hope they, stay with you. It'd be very annoying if you were training with someone for like a year and then they left. So until you're strong enough to really see people for who they truly are, and to make sure there's no like background switching going to potentially happen, then being single is a very sane and reasonable choice. Can someone send entities to you with intent? Yes. I have the personal shielding video that'll help a lot with that. But yeah, if they're trying to, they can make an effort to. Yes. Good. Any other questions? Your family are Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't know much about Jehovah's Witnesses, but the energy they give off is not good whatsoever. I mean, I take it they're waiting for Jehovah to come back, who's the Jewish God. So, I won't talk about that. That's not a good topic for YouTube, because the Jews happen to own YouTube, most likely indefinitely. But yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses, your Jehovah's Witness family would not be doing you favors if they're sending that energy towards you. Zor, asking me how to explain what the true self looks like, you'd be much better off training that and seeing it yourself, because the true self differs between person to person. It doesn't look like the same for each person. Can you create positive entities? I wouldn't recommend it. Just overall build up your own strengths. Don't really try and create thought forms. Is there any way to prevent people with horrible energy from trying to romantically pursue you? Kimberly asks. Just be upfront. Just say, I don't like you. Don't talk to me. You have dreadful energy. So long as you're not a boss or someone that you have to get on with and can potentially, be problematic for you, then you can just, be blunt. That's the best way. Oh, one thing with primordial vision, as it does kick on and clear up, you may have some, I'd say, some conscious things happen which do affect your physical eyesight. So you may start seeing auras, essentially a clear overlay around people. That's their energy emitted from them physically for 3-4 days, and then that will weaken. Let it weaken. Don't make the conscious decision for that to get more out of control. Just let it weaken and become more consciously in control of what you're seeing and doing there. Overall, having stronger primordial vision will allow you to see things with your physical eyes should you wish to, but usually you just want to have a good mental barrier between what you're wanting to see and what your subconscious will show you. Yes, Earth. If someone has overall negative energy, then it's depending on your own energetic resistance. It's not safe to be in their energetic environment. I'll go to, let's say, 54 minutes. I feel like that's a good length for this video. I wouldn't form friendships with NPCs. There's not much point there. They get hijacked too easily. But that's up to you. Oh, one thing to mention, yes, this video will work for pets. It will work for dogs, cats, horses, ferrets, llamas, whatever pets you have. My other healing videos do as well. The reason I'm mentioning it for this one is you're going, well, will my dog and cat start thinking things? The answer is, depending on the age of their soul, they may already have the ability to energetically see things, or they may have in the past and it's just blocked. But if it becomes unblocked, they'll just be more aware and go, oh yeah, I remember this. This makes sense. This is now unblocked. So yes, this will help build up their primordial vision as well. It's very similar to humans, just the energetic pathways are a bit different because they're in a different body. And just like with people, having your cat or dog being able to see things is not going to cause it to be more attacked. It'll just be aware of what's attacking it and aware of what to clear. So there isn't much of a downside because animals, they usually won't just go unless they're crazy, which is very rare. They won't go and like, yeah, I'll attack this cemetery that's 2 kilometers away. They'll usually just energetically try and clear their own surroundings, try and clear the people they know. But you don't need to worry about your dog or cat getting more targeted because they can see. If anything, they'll be more easily able to deal with the targeting that they've already got. So that's all I had to say about Purgatory energy there, and everything else. The Ward Off the Fall is a good manhwa. It's got like 56 chapters out at the moment. So yeah, I would recommend it. How often can this, again, follow nutrition? This is actually an important question. Kimberly asks, does having our actual photos public icon image on social media enable entities to attack us? No. The answer is fairly weak energetic people do need a picture, or weak evil energetic people will need a picture to attack you. But if you've just got an icon that has an energetic frequency, it's very rare for people to attack you over the internet anyway, but it does happen. And they can attack you via the energetic signal that you emit. On my videos, especially in the chat and comments, I have a energetic wall up, so no one's feeling a frequency, they just feel this essentially glass purple wall. I don't have any advice about video games. No, that's... Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that right now. So, yeah, for anyone who is actually like really riddled entities and very evil with decent amount of strength, you having a picture and you not having a picture, it does not mean anything at all. All right. I'll see you in the next one.